It's 2024 at 1:30 p.m. And this is the date and time set for the public meeting of the Other Post-Employment Benefits Trust Fund, also known as OPEB. Brianna, good afternoon. Could you please provide us with a roll call of the OPEB members?
Yes. Chair Razor,
Present.
Vice Chair Ganger, Trustee Fisher.
Present.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. At this time, the public is invited to comment on and discuss any topic that is relevant to or within the authority of this public body. Seeing and hearing no comments from the public, I will close public comment at this time and we'll move forward to our next agenda item, which is agenda item 4A, which is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting on Tuesday, August 27, 2024. Trustee Fisher, did you have a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
Do you have any notations or
I do
comments?
not.
All right, would you like to make a motion?
I move to approve the minutes of the August 27, 2024 meeting as presented.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to agenda item 5A. Item 5A, which is the discussion review of the Carson City OPEB Trust Fund's draft financial report for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. And Chief Financial Officer Sherry Russell Benaboo. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I like to take this opportunity once a year to go over the financials. This is draft, so they have not been finalized quite yet. I do not expect any numbers to change, however. And it's kind of a good thing to look at this once a year, just so the trustees, you all know why we're doing what we're doing on this board. So on the first page there, page 10 of your packet, it shows the assets and basically the net position of the OPEB trust fund. It's the first column there. 70,000 is kind of our operating cash. That's what's in the city's pool. However, we have $3.8 million in the RBIF fund. That's our investment account. And that invests like PERS. They have a little more broad definition of what they can invest in as opposed to a city. We're very conservative, so they can add a little more risk and get a better return on investment. There's a baby bit of unearned revenue. Those are basically prepaid premiums. So those people in the plan have prepaid some premiums early. So they have to sit as a liability until we can add them next year. And our net position for OPEB is 3.8 million, 3.9, almost 3.9 million. This is a 14.4% increase from the net position in the prior year. The prior year had a 26% increase. Much bigger, and it's all my fault. There is $400,000 that should have been wired prior to June 30th into the OPEB trust. However, this is the first year that Pam's not the trustee on the board and I'm down here presenting. And so we both talked about who was going to do it. And I forgot that I said, oh, I'll do it. So as of July 3rd, it was wired into the fund. There is a GASB rule that will not let us do a receivable to these. The only way we can do a receivable is if it's legally required that those monies are deposited in here. And it is not legally required. So unfortunately, the $400,000 will be added to next year's financials.
Okay.
On the next page, this is basically the profit and loss, the income and expenses. And you can see the investment income was almost $500,000 last year, which is great. The about $1 million in employer contributions, that is the retiree subsidy that the city pays for retirees. Again, that $400,000 would have been there had we wired it in time. And then the benefits is the premiums that we pay. It's about $1 million as well. So basically, the change in net position is the investment earnings, which increased the fund balance to $3.9 million. So next year, we'll see a larger increase in our net position simply because it'll be $400,000 from last year plus this year. So it'll be $800,000 just in employee city contributions. So the next information is required supplementary information, and this is data from the actuary. So the actuary goes in and determines what the liability is going to be, the total liability. So they take all the employees right now, who's in the plan, and they determine who's probably going to take the benefit in 30 years or 25 years or whenever they retire. And they do a huge calculation based on today's information, what we're going to need in the future to pay all the benefits if these people retire with the city. So they've determined this year we have a $61 million liability. However, the benefit of having this trust fund is it can offset some of that liability. So the $3.8 million we have is offsetting that. So what appears on the city's financials is just this $56.9 million. That's the actual liability that we owe to the plan. So as we increase this fiduciary trust, the whole purpose of doing this. On the bottom, there's some percentages. Covered employee payroll is just those employees that participate in the plan, which is all the full-time employees. That's their payroll. So we do as a percentage of the total liability at year end. You can see we're about 100%. We're very, very close. Just in 2020, on the next page, you can see we were at about 200% because the liability was a lot higher back then. You can see across the way, the liability does fluctuate quite a bit. And that's because of those actuarial assumptions I was talking about. A large part of their assumptions is a discount rate. So they say if you have this amount of money and you're going to earn a certain rate over a certain amount of time to get to the estimated liability, that rate is very dependent on what the liability is going to be. So, so the discount rate is a huge portion of their assumptions. They've got healthcare assumptions, what's going to happen to healthcare, how many employees are going to actually stay the 20 years to get this benefit. So there's huge assumptions involved in each year, the actuarial estimates. That's why that fluctuates so much. And then we've got the money-weighted rate of return, which is just kind of interesting how much returns we're getting on our investments. And 2022 is negative. Everybody was negative that year. I think the city lost $500,000, or excuse me, $5 million or something that year. So it was a bad year for everybody. The next required supplementary schedule, at the top there, we've got the OPEB's plan. That's a Nevada plan. That's not included in the OPEB plan. It just happens to be on the schedule that we present for the citywide data. Below it is the city plan data. And actuarially, they determined we should put $3.9 million in as contributions. So again, the actuary is doing their big estimate of $60 million, and they're saying over this 30-year period that they're doing this actuarial report, how much do we need to set aside to fully fund this plan? They're saying it's $3.9 million. So there's two things about that. I don't know that we really want to fully fund the plan because of all the estimates and the discount rates, and if our liability ends up only being $50 million, we don't want to overfund the plan. So we actually only fund about half right now. Had we put the $400,000 in on time, it would be different. But we actually do about half of the contribution. It's also expensive. We do right now kind of pay as you go, and then we add $400,000 to it to the savings bank. So it ends up being very expensive if we try to pay as you go and put a huge chunk in there. So each year we're slowly building as we go. We also, this is a continual plan. It's not just 30 years. So we've got lots of time to build this to the 75, 80% funded level that we probably want to be at to be safe. But we're quite a ways from that. I think now we're only 6.4% funded. So we got a ways to go for savings. On the next page is the notes. So this is everything you'd want to know about the OPEB plan. It's got the plan description, the benefits, the contributions. There's a bunch of stuff about the actuary, what they do. And then I want to draw your attention to page 18 and 19. That's where the sensitivity tests start. So actually at the top of page 19, this is the discount rate. You can see that we had a 4.65% discount rate, which yielded a $56.9 million liability. Now decreasing that discount rate just 1% gives us a huge liability, $11 million more of $67,714, or $67 million, excuse me, 714. And that's because the lower the discount rate is, the lower the interest rate, the more you have to put in to get to that 60 million. So, so if that, if rates increase by 1%, then it's only 48 million. So again, we don't want to overfund the plan. And then right below it is the healthcare trends, which based on what they did this year, it's about 56.9 million. Decreasing those healthcare rates to 1% is only the about 47.7 million. Increasing them is again 68.7 million. So there are huge swings in these assumptions the actuary is making. So each year we analyze this, we look at it, we decide kind of what we're going to do. And it's going to be a lot more critical when we get to that 75, 80% funded rate, what we want to do, because do we want to use the plan to pay the benefits, or do we want to still contribute? That's when it'll be critical. Are there any questions, concerns?
I think the only question I had is just when you said we had was it a $5 million or dollar, I won't say a loss, but was that like an unrealized loss or?
Yeah, citywide, that was our fair market value adjustment. It was
Got it,
like
okay.
$5 million. Like, I still can't believe it was that much. It's a big loss.
I didn't have any other questions.
I do not have any further questions. Thank you so much.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
very thorough, thank you. Okay, since we don't have to do a discussion or action on this, we'll move forward to agenda item 5B, which is the discussion of possible action regarding the OPEB Trust earnings report for the first quarter of fiscal year 2025. Again, CFO Sherry Russell Benaboo.
Yes, this is very good news. So for the investment pool, which is just our little operating fund, we have $974 in interest earnings for the first 3 months of 2025. And for the RBIF account, for earnings, gains and losses, and then little fees there, it was $215,840.70 in interest earnings. That's an earnings ratio of 4.8%, which is wonderful. Last year we had a loss actually of 3% at the same time. So investments are doing good right now.
Great, thank you, Sherry. I move to approve the OPEB Trust Earning Report as presented.
I approve. Motion carries. And moving to agenda item 5C, which is the discussion of possible action regarding the OPEB Trust activity for the first quarter of fiscal year 2025. Again, CFO Sherry Russell Benaboo.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so sorry. I just realized in your packet, this page did not print fully. It looks like it cut off the first part of the revenue at the green side there. But it does have the total. So what this sheet does is it compares the revenue coming into the plan from the city subsidy or the retirees PERS or a self-pay, and it compares that with the total premiums, the expenses that we sent out. So in a perfect world, they would be zero. We'd have no retirees leaving, no retirees coming on. The perfect world would be zero. However, it looks like the first 3 months we're receiving more money than we're actually paying out, which tells me that we'll end up with some adjustments coming up here because somebody has passed away and something has changed in the plan. So so we'll figure out what's going on with that in the next 3 months. But it is $5,000 different, which isn't huge considering, the premiums that we pay. There's a little bit of investment income there of $215,840. We just talked about that. And then the city's deposit to the OPEB trust, the $400,000, which happened on July 3rd. So that's for last year, but it did happen on July 3rd. So with that, we have a cash balance of $4.5 million right now as of September 30th. A little bit of unearned revenue because we have one participant that always pays 3 months in advance. And so that continues to be a prepaid. And then the ending balance is about exactly as the same amount as the cash. So it's $4.5 million. That's all I had, unless there's any questions.
Do you have any questions?
I do not have any questions. Thank you again.
And I will make sure this prints correctly in the future. I do apologize.
Would you like to make a motion?
Sure. I move to approve that the OPEB trust activity, I move to approve the OPEB trust activity as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And moving on to agenda item 6, which is selecting the date in February 2025 for our next OPEB meeting. And I believe, looking at the calendar, 3 dates that I saw, let me know if they work for you, would be Wednesday, February 5th, Wednesday, February 12th, and Wednesday, February 19th, all 3 of them at 1:30. Sure if that works for everybody.
I'm open to any of them.
Hold on. I am taking a vacation in February. I apologize. I should have looked at that before it got in here. But it just occurred to me. Wait a minute, vacation. I think if we do the 12th or the 19th, I should be okay.
Let's schedule for Wednesday, February 19th, 2025 at 1:30 p.m.
Sounds good.
And moving forward to our final public comment, the public is invited at this time to comment on any matter that is not specifically included on the agenda as an action item. Please note, no action may be taken on a matter raised under this item of the agenda. Seeing and hearing no comments from the public, I will close public comment at this time. And at this time, would you care to make a motion to conclude our meeting?
I motion to conclude the OPEB meeting.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.